He's angry about mortgages. It's Angry Mortgage. He's swearing. He's cursing loud. He's old. He's opinionated. And he's been doing this so damn long. This program is about mortgages, and this is mortgage advice, but the advice may not apply to your situation. Contact licensed mortgage professionals for specific recommendations before you make decisions about mortgages. You may not agree with Ron, but if you don't, he thinks you're wrong. Oh, and did we say there is a lot of swearing?
We're back.
We're back.
Ron and Jan are on the air. Lots, as always. Look, I'll tell you one thing about real estate and mortgage world. It's just the hits just keep on coming. The excitement never ends. There's new fucking madness to contend with literally every week.
You know, when I entered the industry, I didn't think there was this much drama.
So true. And by the way, there were years where there wasn't any drama.
Oh, there was a time of peace.
There was a time of peace. There was a time when rates were always low for years and years, and people just cheerfully bought homes, and there was no. And this is really interesting. You brought that up. There was literally about a decade where there was hardly any problems in real estate. Like there was not all these condominiums that are just blowing up like dynamite. There was not. It just never. It didn't happen. Okay.
You know what? I blame COVID because I feel like even after the pandemic, real estate, just driving, like anything, people are crazier. If they were crazy before, they're crazier now. I feel like being cooped up in your home for like a year really brought the ugly out.
Well, you know what? It's funny you say that because if you, sometimes people do know this about me. I'm a bit of a history nerd. So the biggest plague was the Black Death in Europe. It's like almost 600 years ago. Okay. And that was the biggest plague. In some countries and some cities, like literally half the population died quickly. Okay. Very, very quickly. And to your point, the remaining people lost their fucking minds. Okay?
Yeah.
Like seriously. Like, I mean, I'm not saying Christianity collapsed in Europe, but there was like fornication going on. Okay. There was like people saying, well, I may be dead next Tuesday, so let's go. There were people who just raided the beer place, like the tavern, grabbed all the beer and just started drinking until they passed out. Okay?
Yeah. They said
Every
life's too
day.
short.
Like,
Life's too short.
Life's really fucking short. Everybody I know in my family's dead. Let's go nuts. Okay.
Yeah.
So you're not far off, interestingly.
Well, history does repeat itself.
Well, if it doesn't repeat, it does rhyme. But I'll tell you, when you read the actual accounts of, sure, it was horrible. People that's a massive die-off, right? Like that is, we can't even roll our heads around that. Okay.
Yeah.
Like in some places, 50% of the village just died in 2 weeks. Okay. They're just all gone. Families wiped out. So the remaining people went nuts.
Of course.
Okay, they just went nuts.
It's like, I'm sure it was a lot of like psychological issues alongside being surrounded by
Well,
death and not knowing if it's your day today or tomorrow.
There's that. and that led to all the drunkenness, the fornication, the acting crazy, the not working. But then something really interesting happened about a year and a half after the plague went away. There was massive labor shortages all across Europe, and even dirt poor peasants asked their lords for more money to work. Okay.
Wow.
And it was actually the beginning of inflation. So if this sounds so fucking crazy, but what happened after COVID with inflation happened 600 years ago during the Black Death.
There you go. History repeating itself again.
People are going to say, I tuned into a mortgage podcast and this bullshit historian started up. I don't know what
Suddenly it's national.
Yeah, what's going on here? Black Death, Europe, 600 years. What's going on? Anyway, let's come back to, it's a good point you made though. Look, all right, let's get back to cases. All right. So we had a report come out last week. Lousy retail sales in Canada. Like every single fucking category, lousy retail sales. Now, retail sales is super important, right?
Right.
Because everything, our economy is mainly a consumer economy. Like if you're Saudi Arabia, it's not a consumer economy. It's just drill, baby, drill, and ship oil out and bring cash in. Okay, that's their whole economy. They have nothing else going on. I know. They like to pretend they got lots going on, but this is bullshit. Okay, they got nothing going on in Saudi Arabia.
Now the Saudis are going to come for you.
The Saudis can come.
In the comment section.
Can I tell you something? There's no Saudis here. The people don't realize that. There's nobody, there's no actual...
I've met one person from Saudi Arabia in my life.
One person.
Yeah.
So imagine, like, we've met, we all know 300 people from Pakistan, 600 people from Punjab, 1,000 people from China. We know one Saudi because they don't leave. Why would you leave?
Why would you leave?
It's paradise.
Yeah, it's nice out there.
Don't get me wrong. For the guest workers, it is not paradise. Yeah. For all the people from the Philippines and Pakistan who they brought in to just do all the work for them,
labor, yeah.
Not at all paradise. Okay, but for them, it's paradise. Okay, and why would you leave? So I'm not worried. The Saudis can come for me. The hell with them. Okay, but that's a different kind of economy. That's like take a big pipe, like take a 20-foot pipe, walk out to the desert, get on a tall ladder, push it into the ground, and oil comes out. Okay,
Yeah.
like I mean, aren't you exaggerating, Ron? Only a bit.
Oh wow.
It's the easiest oil extraction in the world in Saudi. That's it. So, look, I mean, it's their oil. They're making money off it. I sound like I'm bitching and moaning, but there are different kinds of economies.
Yeah.
And our economy, much like the United States, much like most of Europe, is based on, and to a certain extent, that's even what the Chinese economy is turning into, is a consumer-based economy. Like it's internal consumption of goods. So you and services. So you make stuff, you provide services in Canada, and that's about 60% of what turns the economy.
Yeah.
So when you have less sales, by the way, retail sales, they're pretty much a dramatic match to services. So if your retail sales are going in the crapper, then your service sales are going in the crapper too. Okay. So lousy report last week, and it just really brings home the fact that the Canadian economy continues its endless march into the shitter.
Basically.
So, like, I'm serious. Like, everybody says, "Yeah, you're always full of bad news, you fat fuck." Okay, look, I really, in some ways, I'm just a reporter. Okay, I'm very close to. Because I'm dealing with borrowers every single day. That's our business, right?
Yeah.
All we do all day long is deal with borrowers. Okay. So they have needs, they have wants, they have desires, which mainly right now are just about help me.
Yeah.
Okay? Like,
low rates, please.
Low rates, please. Okay. Like I'm suffering. Right. And don't get me wrong, people are still buying houses. Okay. And we operate in multiple provinces, and things are certainly better, not perfect, but better in Alberta.
Oh yeah.
Where we're licensed, and parts of British Columbia than they are in, say, Vancouver Metro, Surrey Metro, and GTA and Southern Ontario.
Yeah.
Where things are not so hot. So what does crappy reports about retail sales mean for a rate cut? Because we got Tiff Macklin. We're going to save the puppet till next week. Okay.
Tiffy.
Like next week, we're going to have a legitimate Tiff appearance. Okay. I know everybody looks forward to that. Maybe not the people at the Bank of Canada.
Yeah.
They don't look forward to the Tiff puppet. And by the way, I got to make this really clear. I've said it before. I got to keep saying it, though. I do not believe Tiff Macklin knows me from a hole in the ground. He does not. Okay. He does not know who I am. But there are people at the Bank of Canada, because there's 4,600 people in the federal. This is an amazing stat. There's 4,600 people who work in the federal government, just communications. And communications means monitoring all the news from every newspaper, every TV show, every cable show, every influencer in Canada who mentions the government. Well, or just every government stuff. Okay. And then they formulate their response.
I'm sure they have a little department just for Tiffy.
Well, Tiff has I think it's either 2 or 3 people in this kind of, it's called comms, communications. So it's just in that group which study the communications, what's being said about the Bank of Canada, and how we should react to it. Okay. So one of those people in that department does see the puppet. Okay?
Yeah.
He
Oh,
sees
for
He sees
sure.
the Tiff TIF Muppet. So
sure.
he or she sees the TIF Muppet. So, but that's coming next week. But let's just talk about the rate cut on tomorrow, Wednesday. It's almost a certainty. It's not quite. Like, I'm not putting any money out on it, okay? But it's very, very close to a certainty.
What percentage would you give?
Well, I can just tell you what there's a system in because interest rates get traded all the time, because that's what the bond market is, right? It's just trading in interest rates, okay? And there's even short-term rates, like there's something called repo that's an overnight rate. I mean, the credit world, the world of lending, massive lending all over the world is big. So there's a lot of analysis going on, and they reset odds every day. And believe it or not, the odds that the market gives, that these services that study what happens to central bank rates, like what happens to the Federal Reserve, what happens to the European Bank, what's going to happen with the Bank of Australia, what's going to happen with the Bank of Canada. That group turns out analysis like literally twice a day. And it's actually about 97% chance of a rate, according to those guys. No, those guys aren't TIF. TIF gets the call, right?
Yeah.
If TIF doesn't want to do it, he doesn't do it, okay? But
that's hopeful.
That's big. So that's what we expect. We expect a cut. But by the way, if there isn't a cut tomorrow, it doesn't matter. It just means there's going to be a cut in September.
Yeah.
Because the cuts are locked in. Economy's not going to turn around. Everything's just unemployment's isn't just going to not drop to 5.5%. It's just going to keep getting worse. Per capita GDP is just going to continue its dismal progress. Retail sales are going to go down. It's just the ultimate effect of high interest rates. It just constantly repeat this, and I'm sorry that it is repetitive, but thousands of people get a renewal every single week in Canada, get a mortgage renewal, and it never goes down.
Yeah.
That's it. It never goes down. So there's always less money. Payments go up to your mortgage, and there's less money to spend in that household. That's it.
That's just, that's the truth.
That's the way it goes. So what does it mean for variable rates? Should we start thinking about variable rates?
What are rates at now, variable? Aren't they higher than fixed?
That's the thing. They are higher than fixed, which is, by the way, the best point about variable versus fixed. The concept of variable versus fixed, the bedrock concept is that because you are taking the risk as the borrower, because if you take a 3-year fixed, in theory, the risk is on the bank.
Right.
Right? So if rates go way up, now, mind you, there's really no risk to the bank. I mean, they've hedged it with they have ways of making sure that they are safe when they issue that mortgage, that they don't have to worry, that they are able to lock that in on their own books. But with variable, you're on the risk. You're the borrower. You're on the risk. Hopefully it goes down, and it looks like it will go down. But what if all hell breaks loose somewhere, an event we don't understand happens, and inflation restarts in a big way? I can't see any of this happening, but I can't rule it out. Nobody can. Okay. So, to your point, if you're going to pick variable, it should be a lower rate than fixed. And if it's not a lower rate, that's mispricing, truthfully. Like, you're taking on all the risk, and instead of getting a 3-year fixed for 4.89, you're getting a 5-year variable for 6. Okay, like that makes no fucking sense, right?
Yeah.
So now there's people out there who say, well, I know it's going to go down, so I'll roll the dice. Well, if you want to roll the dice in your mortgage, take some money to fucking Vegas, okay, or the casino, and there's lots of casinos. Go to the casino in Niagara.
Yeah.
You get a nice trip to a nice region, nice part of the country, and you get to lose your money.
That's a fun risk.
It's a funner risk. It's a funner risk than betting on variable, and then it goes
on
all
your
wrong
mortgage.
On your mortgage, yeah. So, but I want everybody to realize that's the key principle. The key principle to variable versus fixed is that in making that decision, there should always be a discount to fixed. In other words, if a 3-year fixed is 4.89 today, it better be like a 4.25 variable rate, which is not at all. Okay.
Yeah.
And it may never get there. Honestly, like, we may get there. Like, if it drops to 3, you may have a 4.15, but you may have to wait 18 months. So like and the risk is all on you. So again, go variable, maybe. But right now, I would lean more to 1, 2, and 3 year mortgages. And by the way, the 3, 4, and 5 year mortgages, every single rate today that you're offered, listen folks, listen everybody carefully out there. If you're offered any rate for a 3, 4, or 5 year fixed from a bank or a prime lending institution, if it doesn't start with a 4, you're paying too much. Okay, let's just get really fucking clear on that. All those rates are in the 4s, and like for high ratio, I think we even have a high ratio rate at 5 year fixed, maybe as low as 444 or 449. Okay, but that's only for very specific CMHC mortgages, buying a house. That's a very, very specific category. It's only about 12% of all the mortgages down in Canada now. So, but every rate should start with a 4. Let's just understand.
How long do you think it'll take for that balance to kind of go back where variable is lower than fixed?
That's another great question. It may take a while. And just to explain that a bit, it's really got to get all the way to the terminal rate, which the terminal rate is the point where the Bank of Canada governor says, hey, I'm finished. I've lowered it as low as I'm stopping now. I'm stopping. I'm watching. It doesn't mean it can't go down some more. It doesn't mean that I won't turn it up some more if inflation restarts. But I have reached a point where we are going to stop and watch. Okay. Because you'll find that even if they skip a reduction, like if they skipped tomorrow, it's just a delay. It's not a stop. It's a delay. We're just going to keep on cutting. Okay. The terminal rate should be somewhere between 3 and 2.75%. So if we were at 3%, that's a variable rate of around 4.10 or or as low as 3.95 under, even possibly as low as 3.85 under the best possible circumstances. And at that point, really, if it's the terminal rate, if that's the rate that every central bank in the country, in all the countries of the world say, we're going to pause now and watch this thing.
Yeah.
Then really, the best 5 year fixed would probably be like 419. So the funny part is we may not have as much to fall on fixed as we think. Okay, that's something to consider. But really, it's always better to get 419 than to take 489. So that's why sometimes we tell people take a 2 year.
Yeah.
Okay? Because we think in 2 years you're going to have access to 419. And maybe 395, or maybe and maybe you have a chance to choose variable if you think that's a good move. Because a hell of a lot can happen in a year or two.
Yeah.
Okay. Like a whole shit ton has happened in the last 2 years. Let's face it. Like unexpected twists and turns. Like
it's a roller coaster.
Stuff that none of us fucking knew has happened. Right? I mean, like last week, Trump's acceptance speech was an hour and a half of rambling madness. Could you imagine listening to Donald Trump for an hour and a half? Like, apparently some of the people in the stands even fell asleep. I mean,
my goodness.
Sweet Jesus, an hour and a half.
And he talks so fast, too.
And it was just rambling stuff that, I don't know, some of it was like...
Do the voice.
Like, I'm not going to do the voice.
Do the voice.
I'm not going to do it. There's some people who do such a good Trump imitation that I don't want to try to do it. But, oh my God, like there was some stuff that just went on. Like there was one weird passage where he says, now, I don't want to brag. Bragging's not good. Like people tell me not to brag. But I might say one thing. And then... Then at that point he said 75 things where he was the best guy who ever lived. Okay?
Yeah.
Like and everything under him was much better, and everything was basically when he was president it was paradise. Just that COVID slipped in. Okay.
COVID's fault, obviously.
And then of course he has to throw in, it's the China virus.
Oh my God. I listened in for a bit and I heard as by the grace of God that I moved my head like this because God wanted to save me because if not, it would have gone through my head. And I'm like, oh my God, like.
Well, hold on. If God wanted to save you, that guy wouldn't have ever gotten up on the roof.
I was just like listening to it. I was like, okay, I'm like 5 minutes in. I've had enough. I'm going to walk away.
By the way, I mean, here's something weird. Like sort of 2 days after he was shot, he was playing golf and he had no bandage. Mm-hmm. He was playing golf on his ear. And now suddenly there is a bandage.
Oh.
And then all the people in the stands were wearing bandages as like, they put on the same little bandage on their ear, okay, to show support, okay? What the fuck? I mean, he's standing there putting on an hour and a half speech. I think he's fine, okay?
Oh my God.
Anyway, it was something. And then of course, I know we shouldn't talk about politics, but it's just so incredibly wild. Of course, now in the States, they're talking about forcing Biden out. They're going to force him to step down. Like, it's so fucking chaotic. I mean, there's no wonder the stock market goes up and down like a yo-yo.
It's either they get him out or the dementia will, but one way or another, I think he's...
Man, he is in rough shape.
What I don't understand is that, and even with Canada too, why, and forgive me, Ron, but why are these old fucking men running the country?
Well, hold on. Trudeau's not old.
Okay, no, Trudeau. Yes, Trudeau's good, but in the States.
By the way, Poilievre is I think a year younger than Trudeau.
Which they're still in their 40s.
And Jagmeet Singh is like late 40s or 50. So all of our politicians are a lot younger.
Prime ministers or potential, but the House.
No, there's actually a ton of young people in the House.
You think so?
No, we are much better than the U.S. We are so much better than the U.S. I know people seem old. Mm-hmm. Like Olivia Chow is like old, right? And this, she's in her 60s, I think, or late 50s, early 60s. So I get your point. Like, why aren't there more 40 and 50-year-olds?
Yes.
Okay? That's a fair point, an honest point. It makes sense, okay? Mm-hmm. Because like in the States, it's like fucking crazy, right? Like, I mean, one guy said the smartest thing. He said, well, wait a second, like, if Biden's walking the way he is now, so he looks like the crypt keeper, like he's just barely stumbling along, and they showed a run of him going down these stairs from a plane. I think we had to wait. I think it actually was an hour to get him all the way down the stairs.
No.
He looked so frail,
and his memory's not there.
No, but I feel so sorry for him. Like I actually feel sorry.
Aging
for him,
is a natural thing. Like
yes, of course,
I just don't think that like it should be like he should be the person.
Well, what we should do is be mad at the people around him, like his crazy dingback wife who's saying, "You got to stay, Joe." No, he's too old. He's 82. For the love of Jesus, okay. Like the great thing that one guy said on CNN, who's supposed to love him, said, "Well, if he's like this now, if he got reelected, what the fuck would he be like in 2 years?"
Yeah.
Like, I mean, holy shit. I mean, we might not even be alive. I mean, it doesn't even make sense. So, hey, we got off topic, but you just have to. Stuff in the States just.
There should be an age limit.
Hold on, stuff in the States just overwhelms Canada because it's so much of it, and it's at this moment in time again.
Yeah.
This is the craziest I've ever seen it. Okay, like I'm 67. I've seen I think about 15 presidents, and this is as crazy as it gets. Okay, like I mean, there's nothing as crazy as this. Trump, Biden, one guy listening to this rambling, nonsensical insanity for an hour and a half, and then Biden can't get down the stairs.
Poor thing.
Like yes, one guy should be carefully watched, but the other guy we should just feel sorry for because he's just aged. He's just aged out.
Yeah.
I'll age out someday. Or I'll be dead.
You're not going to be on the media about it.
I'm not going to be the president. I'm not going to be the prime minister. I'm not going to be even elected to fuck all. Okay?
You'll probably just be 85 on TikTok.
I'll just be more rambling TikTok bullshit. It'd be much more. Eventually, the followers are going to say, "I think he pooped himself." Okay? Like, he looks like he's passing gas. He's so old. So, anyway, hopefully not. I should probably get off TikTok.
Don't worry, we won't let that happen.
Won't TikTok be something different? TikTok would be like,
God knows
you'd be wearing your vision. What do they call
VRs?
it? You'd be wearing VR glasses, and I'll be like, could be young again. I could make myself young in VR, right?
Oh. There's hope.
But I'll still,
that's the craziest filter ever.
I'll still be old in my fucking head. Though, that's for sure.
The dementia will be peaking.
Absolutely fucking true. Just like poor old Biden. Anyway, we got the real estate news, and it's just more bad news. Just keeps on coming. Like I got a lawyer friend, and this is the thing. When the real estate news is bad, it's hard to get it out. Yeah, like, I mean, let's face it. I have one very honest lawyer friend, count him as a friend, who just, on sort of on an equivalent of like Snapchat. It's not Snapchat. I'm not that smart, but on a DM group, he just tells a lot of honest stories about how things are going. So many things going wrong. Okay, about these condominium closings for these brand new condominiums that are coming up for closing after 5 years. But he's about the only guy who's honest about it. And, should we blame the others who are trying to keep it quiet?
Well, I mean, if you think about it, that's their livelihood.
The lawyers, yeah.
They
get the referrals from real estate agents.
Exactly. Yeah. Like, why are you going to bite your own hand type of thing,
Yeah. Well, don't bite the hand that feeds you your deals, right? So, that's what we, typically if there's bad news in real estate, the rest of the real estate industry says,
hush.
Shut the fuck up. Don't talk about that shit. Okay. But we're not like that here. We're fucking wild. Okay?
We're here for the drama.
We're here for the drama. We're here for the shit. We're here to tell the truth. But not Truth Social. Okay, not. Okay. So we're here to tell the truth. So yeah, there's just the story I told about the $270,000 hit. Like, I can't tell you how many little notes I get, even in replies in social media, about I gave up 25 grand to get out of a deal. I gave up 30 grand. I gave up 10 grand. I gave up my whole deposit to get out.
Holy shit.
Like, it is very, very consistent on these because it's just the simplest math in the world. The place across the street is selling for $950. It's 2 years older than your brand new condo. Your brand new condo is coming ready to take occupancy. It's ready. They want you to sign up, get your mortgage, own it. Okay. Right across the street, the guy's selling it for $950 a foot. Same suite, same sort of building. It's only 2 years older, so not much different. $950 over on one side of the street, $1,275 on your side in your building. Okay, like, you are fucking. That's it. Like, you are in.
Everyone's going to $950.
So if you don't, and the really bad thing is, if you choose to close when you rent it out because your mortgage is too big, you're losing $500 or more a month for every month you rent it.
Yeah.
So that's a very bad news story, right? Like, so there's a lot of things going on that are just, and the other great thing my lawyer friend talks about, it's not a great thing, but it's great that he's honest, is he says some of these people cannot get mortgages. Like, they bought another couple of these and closed, over the years, and they got too many.
Yeah.
And they're all underwater. They're all not making money. Okay. They're all got negative cash flow on their rents, and their banks look at them and saying, we're not going to give you a mortgage.
Yeah.
And so even the alternative lenders are saying, we're not going to give you a mortgage.
Wow.
Okay. And by the way, when we appraise your $1,275 per square foot unit, we appraise it at $950. So you got to come up with even more cash that you don't have than the deposits you got in. So, folks,
it's just a shit show.
It's a shit show. It will continue to be a shit show because there's another 20,000 units coming over the next 18 months. So it'll keep on being bad. But it's not perfect in 905. And I don't think it's even perfect in some of the single family right now.
No, I saw a bungalow. I think it was in Etobicoke, and the price was over $1 million prior.
Started, yeah.
I think it was like 1.2. It's at $999, and that is kind of unheard of in Toronto. And these are like Etobicoke bungalows are like nice full size bungalows,
big lots, sometimes,
like big lots.
Yeah.
So it's like.
Do you think it's just a come on? Do you think he's offering it $999 and he really expects to get like $1.2 million, or
probably, but it could also be that they're desperate. It could be that the people just can't do it anymore.
So can't do it is kind of a combination in most cases of job loss, because unemployment does continue to slowly rise. Okay, and particularly the GTA. GTA is one of the most affected by unemployment in Canada. It's concentrated here. A lot of unemployment problems here. Well, construction starting to not. There's no new jobs to go to once you finish your old job. Yeah. And let's face it, we had 70,000 licensed realtors, of which they're not busy. I mean, look, let's say 40,000 of them were just part-time, maybe sold one house a year or one house every 2 years. But for the full-time ones, it's not good.
Yeah.
It just isn't good. So there's people under pressure. And in the banking sector, there's no growth. There's hiring freezes, and banking sector and insurance sector is financial is a big part of GTA. So, everybody's feeling it. And if you combine that with a renewal where your payment went up by $500 and you got some unemployment in the household, not good. It's just not good. And I think we will, again, I want to be very, very clear. I don't predict massive mortgage default. I don't predict any banking crisis in Canada. Everybody stamp that one. Like, let's take it out and stamp it. I said that, okay? Boom, stamped. I'm a bit of a real estate bear, but I don't want to say that it's all the end of the world.
Of course, yeah.
But there's going to be some more problems. Problems are going to continue. And, even 905 condos. Like somebody watched it on Reels. I saw something the other day where they're offering it's like 1,000 square foot unit, penthouse, lots of room, nice finishings in Mississauga. It's like well under $1 million.
Oh.
So, that strikes me as that did in 2021. That was like 1.4.
Easy.
Okay, easy.
Yeah.
Yeah. So things are happening. All right. So we got some viewer mail. We got the viewer and listener mail. Got some questions for us.
Okay, this one says, I subdivided my vacation property into 2 lots and built a house on the new lot. Should I try VTB, vendor take back, to help sell the house?
So it's funny. There have been consistently in the last year more inquiries about VTBs, vendor take back mortgages. So the concept is kind of simple. It's pretty well known in commercial. Like if you sell commercial buildings are a lot, particularly small ones and ones that are not, say, unusual or out of town, they're a lot harder to sell. Okay, so in many cases, if the owner owns that building free and clear and wants to sell it, they'll offer a mortgage as well to be an incentive to say, look, if the bank would approve you, I'll give you a mortgage. You put 25% down payment from cash to me, and I'll give you a mortgage. Okay, and sometimes it's at a very fair rate. So the thing that I have to say about this, though, this is not commercial. This is residential, okay? And I get it. Some people like to save their real estate commissions. They say, well, I'll just try to sell it myself. I'll offer this vendor take-back mortgage as an incentive. So a vendor take-back mortgage just means, again, you take 25% cash from the client, from whoever's buying it, and then you give them a mortgage, let's say at 4.5% for a couple of years, and you take that money as income. That's your income from the property. And they keep paying you. They own it. They live into it. They move in. They live in it. They pay you. You've got their 25%. But the problem is you are now the bank. And what if they don't pay you? Oh, people say, well, if they don't pay me, no problem. I got a vendor take back. I'll just throw them out and walk in. No, that's, excuse me, to take over a home, you have to get a judge's order to change that. Well, no, I got the VTB contract. I should be great.
You still have to go through LTB, don't you?
Well, you may have to. You have to go through POS. You have to go through. Might have to go through power sale. But you might. But here's the one thing I'll tell you for sure. Anybody who's missing payments, who's given 25% as a deposit, as a down payment, given the vendor 25%, and they're missing some payments, they're going to fight. They're not just going to say, yeah, you're right, I'm missing payments. I'm going to leave and let you keep the 25% of my money. They're going to say, well, we're either going to sell this on MLS and I'm going to see what I can get for it, or we're going to do this, or I'm going to just file a defense. Fuck you. I'm filing a defense against your power sale bullshit, or I'm filing a defense against your VTB bullshit, or I think you did something wrong too when I bought this, and on and on and on. So
it gets messy.
It's just if you, for the sake of just saving a few bucks in commissions.
Yeah.
You want to just amp up your legal obligations through the roof. And by the way, eventually you're going to want to get rid of that mortgage. And how you're going to want that cash someday. So, yeah, I don't see VTB. I don't think on residential VTB makes any sense.
Got it. Okay, this one says, my renewal is in December and my bank keeps calling me about early renewal. Currently at 3.39. Bank is offering 4.69, 3-year. What should I do?
All right, so the classic question. We get a lot of questions on renewals because it's such a consistent problem in all of Canada. So you have a low rate right now. So that's a very good rate, 3.39, fantastic. My feeling of all those low rates is keep them till the end.
Yeah.
That's my basic advice to everyone. Keep them to the end, particularly today. because we believe in 6 months rates will be lower than they are today. And even though the rate that the bank is offering at 4.69 is quite fair, well, if it's going to be 4.49 when you need to renew, then how fucking fair was it?
Yeah.
Okay, like I mean, so here's one thing that we can guess for sure. If a bank is offering to do something which is outside their contract, like the bank contract is we renew on the maturity date, which is going to be in 6 months, right? That's what the contract says. So when the bank comes to you with an offer that is outside of their actual contract, I got a feeling the bank thinks it's a good deal for them. Okay. Like I got a funny suspicion on that. I got a suspicion the bank knows they're not going to lose money on this fucker.
Of course. Yeah.
So again, you have 3.39. You got another 6 months left at 3.39. Hold on till the end. Shop 2 months before renewal. Odds are you're going to get a better rate than 4.69, so, which is, by the way, is a good offer. Okay, no question. But it also means you gave up 6 months of 3.39 to the bank's benefit. Okay?
Yeah.
That's one other thing there. Okay, so those are good questions. Now, one of the things that we're starting to hear more and more of in media and in commentary and online is, if the recession in Canada really hits, like it's a difficult recession and unemployment keeps going up, what will banks' attitudes be towards issuing new mortgages? Because, in technical terms, we call that liquidity. We call that access to credit. That's access to credit, access to money. Because that's really what a loan is, right? It's giving you access to money to allow you to do something, which in the case of mortgages is purchase a home, okay? So there's a lot of thought that goes on today about, well, what happens? If things are going really bad and the banks are seeing more people not paying, because they do that, right? Because we've talked about the banks reserving more and more every quarter for possible loan losses. We've talked about that.
Yeah.
They are actually believe they will have more loan losses. And we talk about people getting in trouble on their payments. We talk about it. So how does a bank react to the obvious seeing that things are getting worse? A lot of people will say, well, the banks will tighten up. The banks will make it harder to get a mortgage. Well, that is a yes and no answer, okay? Because I've been around. I've seen all the bullshit over the years. I've been through the 2008 wacko shittery where,
Financial crisis.
I was around during COVID where the bank says, yeah, fuck, I know that we don't think we can give anybody a mortgage unless they're working for the government, okay? Like, we don't know what to do here, okay? So I've seen it all. So this is reality. Yes, there will be a different approach to issuing mortgages if the economy truly worsens. And there will still be easy access to mortgages for perfect people. So it just affects people at the edges.
Yeah.
Okay? Like if you're a longtime doctor and a longtime dentist and you can, like, you're not, they're going to give you your mortgage.
Yeah.
Whatever, they're going to give you what the fuck you want. Okay.
You fit the criteria.
You fit the perfect borrower criteria. So yes, and that's by the way, that's a lot of people. Okay, so if you, I'll go back to my original premise. If you work for the government, okay, two teachers are not going to have a hard time finding a mortgage. Two tenured teachers, people who have got their full-time salaried jobs at a school board. Will it be? Certainly, there will be a crackdown on credit. Like if you are just barely the right credit score, you won't get a mortgage. They will find a reason to not give you the mortgage. Okay, that part's true. So what to worry about if you are thinking in a year or two, I will need a mortgage and possibly in a bad economy when the banks are tight with lending? I guess what to think about is plan for that eventuality.
Yeah.
Like if you know you have a marginal credit score, you got to fix your credit.
Yeah.
Okay, it's simple as that. If you know that your income is sketchy, like you're working 3 jobs, don't plan on getting a mortgage. Okay, I mean that's not gonna. By the way, I'm not criticizing working 3 jobs. I admire it, but here's what I know about lending, mortgage lending.
So you wouldn't even recommend them just shopping straight into alternative. You'd just say don't bother.
Well, I mean, but alternative's going to be tougher too. Alternative's going to be harder. It's going to be hard. Which is a great point, by the way. There's always alternative lending, but is in terms of they're probably going to get tighter than the banks, the alternative lenders. Okay, again, they're going to lend in a situation where they see a great deal of equity and a potential for there's a high likelihood of payment, but they're going to tighten up first. They already are. That's the reality.
So then maybe it's just best they just wait.
Well, that you might have no choice.
Yeah, like if it's something small like fixing your credit score, that can get fixed in 6 months if you're making payments on time.
A year.
Depending on your balance too, right?
Too, yes, correct.
So there's things that can be done, but sometimes waiting is just the answer.
That's just the only option.
Yeah.
But I did want to dispel the idea, folks. Don't have the idea in your head that when there's a true recession in Canada that the banks will just stop lending. The banks are in the business of lending, okay? They're just going to get more careful about who they lend to.
Of course.
But lending...
It's never going to stop.
Doesn't stop.
Money makes the world go round.
The banks are in the fucking lending business. Just let's get that through our heads. That's the truth. Which takes us to our favorite part of the show.
What the actual fuck?
Yeah, we had the flood day in Toronto here. So, hey, folks, let me explain. For those of you outside of Toronto, we had like 100 centimeters? Well, it was like some huge amount of rain at once, right?
I think it was 125 millimeters. Okay. It was basically a month's worth of rain.
It was a month's worth of rain in a day.
Yeah, in a span of a few hours.
Actually, more than the month of July's worth of rain in a half a day.
Yeah.
So there were floods. Okay.
Oh yes, they
and of course,
fucking were.
There fucking were floods. Okay,
Yeah.
and there were power outages, and there was like hell's a popping. Okay, and it was quite a day in Toronto, and all the pictures of the cars and the DVP. And I do question, if you know the rain is not stopping, why do you let the DVP stay open? Because we're going to get to the most important part of this whole flood story. So naturally, when a flood happens, the politicians come out and they say immediately, like, you got the mayor, she's looking confused. She had like a Joe Biden look in her eye for a little while there. She looked a little Joe Biden-ish. Like, I don't know what to say here.
Just
about
vague answers.
Vague answers. Let me guess. All right, let me just skip to the main fucking point, because you experienced this in your real life. Okay?
Yeah, I did.
11 years ago, the same fucking thing happened. Okay?
It was bad. Like, it was bad. There's this viral photo of a TTC bus flooded in the middle of the street.
11 years ago.
11 years ago, 2013?
Yep.
Yeah, that's my photo.
That's your photo.
Yes.
That's your own photo.
Yes, from my parents'
Christ.
house.
That's your parents' house.
Yeah. So I looked into it because there was like a study done in 2014 about like, the flooding in the area. My parents' area, the flooding has been on their radar since 2008.
They knew about it.
The residents have been like putting in concerns. 2008, it started on their radar. A year after the flooding, the study comes out and they're like, yeah, the area is pretty bad. It needs this, that, and those. But yet here we are, 11 years later, same shit has happened. Like literal shit because it's sewage water.
So
okay.
It has
so literal
the odor of shit. Okay. Yeah.
Okay.
Exactly.
And like we did what we needed to do. We installed the backwater valve. We installed a sump pump. It wasn't cheap, but it was done, and we didn't get flooding this time, thank God.
Yep.
But all of my neighbors are suffering now.
So the most important thing, the city did nothing. Nothing.
Absolutely nothing.
So,
nothing.
Folks, here's the story of the floods in Toronto. Before you listen to all the climate change. Is it climate change if it happens every 10 or 12 years for a long time? Okay, fine. So it maybe is not just... And then you hear the politicians talk about, we will need to spend billions on infrastructure. The whole thing needs big improvement. Wait, politician motherfuckers, okay? Just fix where it floods. All right, like what you do? It's the same places, exactly the same places.
Like
not just your place, the same place on the DVP, the same place on Lakeshore,
Leaside,
All
everywhere.
the fucking places that were flooded when the same rain happened 11 years ago were flooded again. Okay, and guess what? Why don't we just fucking fix that?
Simple.
Okay, like
Simple.
not the whole city, not rip up all the infrastructure, not change every pipe in the fucking city. Okay. If we know that it happens, just install the bigger storm drain lines there.
Fix
where
it.
It happens.
The proposal, the study I was reading, the estimate, well, of course, this is from like 2014, but the cost estimate was there. They have what they need to get their work done.
They knew what to do. They
knew what to do, and they didn't do it.
They just didn't do it.
They didn't fucking do it.
They just didn't do it. So, hey, City of Toronto.
Fuck you.
Fuck you.
First of all.
Also, province of all the little regions that got flooded. Province, wake the fuck up. Just fix those places that flood every fucking time. Shut up about your infrastructure. Shut up about your climate change. Just fix the fucking places where it happens over and over again. Fuck you all, okay? And folks, we'll see you next week.
See ya.
If you like the pod, well, don't just sit there. Go to YouTube, Apple, Spotify, and all the other ones and like the pod. And don't forget to subscribe so we can keep being angry at mortgages and swearing about mortgages. Angry Mortgage could use your support.